Hi, this is Vince, Auto Restoration Videos. In this little video clip, we're going to continue on with this medieval tent that I've been building. Now the whole top of the cone and everything is all together already. Alright, so the only thing we have to do is figure out a way to hang the sides. Now, this is 1/2 of my tent. It's almost 20 feet in diameter. Alright? Now, each post has a little pocket on like this. This is actually sewn on to the top of the tent. Okay? So this will secure the whole top of the tent onto each post that goes around, each spoke. Alright? There's 8 spokes. So now is what we have to do. We have to put like a wire or something all the way around each one of these spokes to hang our side on. Alright, you with me on this? Now the thing is, how do we hang the side? Now, the only place logically we could hang the side is on a spoke. Of course, in between each spoke, there's nothing. Except, we're going to have the wire go in between, running all the way around. But the only place we can secure it is right here. Now you people, you got to be thinking with me along this. Alright? Now this part here is sewn to the tent over here and over here. It's sewn to the top. But we have this open right here. Okay, you can get your finger, if your finger was long enough, you can stick it right through. So that offers an opportunity. So my idea is to get a piece of webbing, like so, get a D-ring that's welded. It has to be welded, because if we're going to have about 8 feet high wall going all the way around this whole tent, hanging on like a piece of wire. Actually, I'm going to have a piece of plastic, that black plastic I showed you, black plastic piping with a piece of wire through the black plastic to give it extra strength. So we need a D-ring that is welded, because we don't want the weight of that to open this D-ring up. So this one I have here is welded. Believe it or not, this is welded. They did a crummy job welding, but this is some heavy stuff. This is like almost 1/4 of an inch thick. So what we're going to do, we're going to sew a D-ring onto here like this on one end. Now, when you sew this on here, you can never leave a raw edge, because eventually what's going to happen is it's going to unravel. So what we want to do is fold that under. Then we put it down here, like so, and then we sew it. This way there is no raw edge exposed. Okay? Now imagine that this is sewn. Alright? We want to sew it as close to this D-ring as we can, so we don't get too much play going this way or this way, because then it might have a tendency to wear out better. Alright? Well, wear out worse. Quicker, let's say, is the word. Now, so say we're going to get this, and then we're going to slide it right through here. We're going to let it hang over the side, right in front of the edge of our pole. Alright? Then the wire's going to come through, go through here, then go through the next spoke, and go right around. Now you're probably saying, that's good. How are you going to attach the webbing to the spoke? Okay? Now just like we did on this spot here, we're going to have to always fold that raw edge under. Alright? Then after we fold it under, we sew it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go back about, it doesn't really matter that much, but I think the further back it is to be, the better off it might be. Because the distance and the rate that it would flex would be decreased a little bit, I think. I'm thinking out loud now. Because we're farther away. Alright? I guess it's like if you have a whip. You have one whip 3 feet away, and your friend grabs it, and you shake it right away, it's going to go and hit your friend, or it's going to snap out of your friend's hand. However, if you have a whip, alright, that's about 30 feet away, and you give it a big snap, by the time that wave gets over to your friend, it's going to be greatly diminished because of the distance between the 2 points. Alright? So you with me on that? So that's why it's better to go a little farther than a little shorter. No matter how we do this, we're going to have to make them all the same size because we want to be uniform. Now don't forget now, this tent is actually coming down on this kind of an angle, almost like a 45-degree angle. And once we put this in here like this is going to pull it down. Alright? This is going to want to pull that tent down. So instead of the tent coming out like a slight curve like this, it's going to come up like this. Then it's going to go up. You see what I'm saying? It's going to come up like this because we are pulling in the edge. Now that's okay. That's okay. It will actually make the top of the tent tighter because this is just going to be hanging over the edge. Alright? And this is going to be stapled with 1/2-inch staples. About the first 3 inches. And then we're going to use these webbing tacks. They're about 1 inch and 13/16, I believe, and they have barbs on them. Alright, it's like an oversized tack. And once you put them in, they really don't want to come out. Alright, so we're gonna put them in, but we're not going to put them in straight. We're going to put them in on a little bit of an angle. Alright, we're going to put them in on a little bit of an angle like this, so it'll give it more pulling strength. Alright, whereas if we were just to put the tacks in straight, there could be a chance that it could come out. But if we put them on a slight angle, like maybe a 30-degree angle or something, man, it's going to be really hard to get those tacks out. We could put like maybe probably two good tacks in here, right in the center. Alright? About maybe a 1/2 inch down from the top, and then go down about another inch from that point. We're going to put another tack in. Make sure that your webbing is double over, double thickness in the point where you put those tacks in to give it more meat to hold on to. Alright? Especially there where we're putting our tacks in. Now since we're only going to be using 1/2-inch tacks, you might as well just concentrate on the single thickness of this webbing, because the 1/2-inch tack is actually the longest you can get in a standard staple gun that would actually hold, and it would help if you were to use stainless steel staples. Alright, I have another staple gun that will shoot almost 2-inch long staples, but that is just too much overkill. That's for like attaching 2 pieces of wood together, like a wood crate for shipping or something. And they're pretty big, and That's just overkill. That's not necessary. It really isn't. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these all to size. Then I'm going to go ahead and see if I have any more of those tacks left. I hope I do. And we're going to start sewing our pieces together, and then we're going to take it from there. Now, I have all the other spokes. I just don't have them in my big tinker toy here. Now this is the hub. You see what I mean? The big main post goes through here, and each one of my spokes comes in through the side. This is one big mother when it's set up, and it's heavy. If this thing falls on you, you might as well better off wearing a hard hat when you're underneath this thing. But this is supposed to be rock solid. Alright? This was a real popular item back in about the 14, 15, and 1600s. You know, the days of the knights, and Attila the Hun, and all those cats. You know, they had to have some good ideas back there. Oh, did I tell you also? No, I didn't tell you this. Now, I made this out of a piece of wood on the top, piece of wood on the bottom, and all these pieces here. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, how could they ever made something like this back in Attila the Hun's day? Well, I'm going to tell you how. They got a tree this big, and they cut slices out of it. Then they cut these chunks in it, and they used tree limbs to stick the tree limbs in the openings that they had. You know, and if they made the opening was too big, they got a little bigger tree limb. If it was a little too small, then they got a smaller tree limb, and they cut it off. That's the only way I can figure when they first started making these things how they made them. I'm sure as time went on a little bit, you know, they figured out how to make a big planing thing and how to make these things round and square or something like that. Yeah, they just advanced that way, all right? Now, how I made these spokes here, I got a 2x4 and actually split them in half, all right? That's how I made them. So, this is going to be a quick one here. I'm going to go ahead and sew these things together, show you how one goes together, then I'm going to go ahead and finish this off. Because once you do one, all the rest of the 7 are going to be done exactly the same way. And as far as I'm concerned now, this tent is done except for the side. Now you say, what are you going to do with the side? The side is simple. You just hang it on, you put some loops in it, alright? Then you can have loops going over it with a little snap in it, alright? And just like a big shower curtain, alright? If you really wanted, you could make it like a shower curtain. You could put grommets up top, you know, and hang it, but that's too crummy. Come on, we're building a medieval tent here. We wanted that crazy stuff. Now don't forget, on our tent, we also have flaps that go hang down the side about this long, you know, and it's like a big sawtooth. I made them. And so when you put the sides on and you hang them off this post here, you're never going to see that top. That big lip that goes all the way around, it also acts as a rain shield so no rain can come inside the tent. Alright? I think I have a picture of this posted on my website, on my Facebook business page, Auto Restoration Videos. Check it out. You see more. I'll post more on this web, even about this video too. Well, I'm posting this video on there. See you in a little bit. Just one more thing. Now, this is not a ray gun. This is called a hot knife. Now, you're probably saying, what are you going to do with a hot knife? Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. The biggest problem when you're working with this nylon webbing is its fraying. It frays and it comes right apart. So, this side I already melted. So you want to get one of these guns here. You can also cut it, but I found it's easier just to cut it with a scissor and then melt it with this. It doesn't cut too hot. So I'm going to let this thing heat up just a little bit. Now you can see it melting already. Now I'm actually melting it now. Now, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's melted. And my gun is still smoking. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up 7 more strips like this and treat them the same way. And then I'm going to start by folding my top piece over about maybe like 2 inches almost. Okay, that. And then after I get it about 2 inches, then I'm going to sew it up real good. Now this is going to be the spot, the end that I tack and staple to the wood spoke. And I'm also going to staple it down here. I might not even put staples through the double thickness because you really won't be getting all that much penetration. But it can't hurt. Can't hurt. Put a couple staples in there. Hey, can't hurt. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now and sew this thing up a little bit. Oh yeah, you're going to need a walking foot sewing machine to do this. Industrial strength. Don't try to do this on your home sewing machine. And make sure you got yourself a reverse, or you're going to be here all day. Get a 22 thick needle. That's real thick. That's one of the thickest ones you can get. Or else when you go through this stuff, you're going to break your needle. And use some a 92 or a 130 thickness thread. I would stay with the 130 if you can get it. 92 really isn't that thick, depending upon what manufacturer makes it. It seems like all these guys, they have their own idea of what a 92 thickness is. I'm just doing a big zigzag across this material. Make sure you go, before you start a stitch, you go forwards and backwards, and then when you get to the end, you always go forwards and backwards to lock that stitch in so she doesn't come off. And you should, cut it as close to the material as you can. Check your stitch to make sure it looks the same on the back as it does on the front. That will show you that your thread tension is good and it's nice and tight. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing over to the end here where my D-ring is going to go. I'm going to fold it under once, then I'm going to sew it. Alright, and I have a zipper foot on here. That means I'll be able to get real close to the edge of this. A zipper foot only means that it's a real thin foot, so you can get real close to something you're sewing. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this up too. And looks good to me. I think I'm going to go ahead and measure this before I sew it together. It'd be easier to cut 7 pieces right now than try to figure out the length of this and cut 7 pieces. Okay guys, so we're headed into the end of this one. Now this is a zipper foot. This is a standard foot. You see this thickness here? A zipper foot doesn't have this over here. So I can get real close to my metal ring. The closer the better. So I'm going to go ahead and do a zigzag on here, then maybe go up and down once or twice to make sure this thing is anchored. Now, since I melted the back lip of this plastic, I only have to double it once. Go over, just fold it once. I don't have to make a second fold to hide that edge. You want to go over it a couple times to make sure you have it. Now I'm just zigzagging across the material. When you pivot your needle, then when you pivot your foot, you should always have the needle in the material. And by rights, you should lift up the foot, turn the material, put it down. Now we're going backwards here, so we back it up. We can go over it one more time and back it up again. Then put the needle down, pick up the foot, twist your piece, come down on another angle, keep the needle in the material, pick up your foot, twist your material, back it up, sew it again, back it up, keep the material, keep the needle in the material, pick up the foot, twist it one more time, bring it down, go over it a couple times, pick it up one more time. This is going to be the last one. Drop your foot, reverse it, forward, reverse it, forward. That's it. I might try to go up and down once or twice or something too, but you got the idea. Here's the way it looks on one side. Here's the way it looks on the other. We're not going for looks here. We're going for practicality, functionality. This isn't ever coming off. I would never even try to open this thing up with a razor to take these threads out. I just cut it with a big scissor. Okay, 7 more to go. I'm losing my focus. Alright, we have all our straps sewn. So we're ready to go. We have to get is the measurement on this one with the boot as to how far back we're going to put this strap. So now, we're going to have all this weight on there, so it's going to be pulling this leather strap right down. So we want to hold this down on top of our piece of wood, our spoke. You want to hold this strap all the way back here, and then we want to mark it right at the end. Then what we're going to do, that mark that we put on here, we're going to transfer to every spoke. Alright? So we know that they're all going to be the same. Now this is another spoke. Okay, that one goes there. I have all my spokes numbered, sort of. I got pictures on them, little tiny stamps. And on my hub, I have the same stamp. So this way, I know when my spokes go in, they can only go in a certain way, and that spoke with the little stamp on it. I couldn't find my webbing tacks. Seems I must have used them all up. I'm going to have to pick up some more. But for the time being, I'm going to use my Upholsterer's staple gun. It shoots fine wire staples. Alright, now you're probably saying, why fine wire staples? Well, I'm going to tell you, they are really fine. Yeah, they're fine. They are sharp as dental picks, let's say. Alright, they'll have no problem getting through this or 3 layers of this stuff. I'm going to start at 80 psi. Okay? Now, what you have to watch when you're using a staple gun like this, you got to make sure you oil it before you start. Alright? But what you have to watch is you don't have too much pressure. Too much pressure will actually go right through this and cut it. So you want to make sure that when you staple it, you just get like a little indentation in there to make it nice and tight. If it's cutting it, forget it. This thing will rip off in a second. Now, like I say, I have 80 psi in there, and I haven't tested this out yet. Now I put my strap right up to that line I marked. Let's see what happens. It looks good, 80 psi. Six staples. That's it. Put the boot back on, double check it. Looks good. All I got to do is order those webbing tacks with the barbs on them. We should be good to go. But for now, we're going to be set. If I send away for those webbing tacks, the postage are going to cost more than what the tacks are worth. So I got to make sure, you know, I find a couple other things I need so I can fill up the order a little bit to make it worth it for me to send away for those little tacks. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the whole rest of these and staple them all down. And I'm in Fat City, people. That's it. Okay, this is Vince, Auto Restoration Videos. Check out my website. Click on my Facebook link. There's a Facebook link on Auto Restoration Videos that if you click on it, you're going to find out the current projects I'm working on, what kind of problems I'm having, and all kinds of valuable information. Check it out. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next video.